Welcome to the Black Father's Pulse, the podcast where fatherhood meets purpose. I'm Dr. Alvin Thomas, clinical psychologist and professor, here to guide you through the multifaceted journey of Black fatherhood. Please note, the views expressed here are my own and not those of my employer. But get ready to dive into the dynamic world of Black fatherhood, where we celebrate the highs, tackle the lows, and share plenty of laughs along the way. Let's keep the pulse of fatherhood beating strong and vibrant. Welcome back to the Black Fathers Pulse podcast, where we tell the stories of Black fathers. And in this case, we're telling the story of a young Black man and his journey towards finding purpose and following his dreams. From the island of Grenada, where the waves meet the will to win, comes Aundre Stanisclaus, a teen whose love for soccer is as natural as the air he breathes. Fueled by purpose and a deep passion for the game, Andre's journey is already catching fire. He proudly wore Grenada's colors with the under 15 national team, and by just 16, he earned a call up to the senior squad for his club, Hanved. These moments, though, aren't just achievements, they're stepping stones to a bigger vision, to rise, to inspire, and to carve out a path from Grenada to the world stage. For Andre, the dream is alive, and he's chasing it with everything he's got. Thank you so much for joining us today, Andre.
Welcome. It's really nice to be here.
So, Andre, I have a few questions. So, at least when we talked about how we were going to approach this podcast, we thought one, just talking about your interest in soccer
Of
as
course.
in the Caribbean and other parts of the world that's not the US, we
Yeah.
call it football.
Yes, you do.
And for the US and maybe some European countries, we call it soccer.
Yeah.
First, for those kids who may not be exposed to soccer slash football, how does soccer or football as you know it, how does that look different from what American children might know as football?
As in rugby for them.
So I don't think they would call it rugby, but yeah, the kind of football where you pick up the football and run with it.
I think in the Caribbean we call it rugby,
Okay.
but I'm not sure if that's right. But yeah,
Okay, so I think rugby is a different sport, and I see it played a lot in Australia and in the UK, and it does have some elements of American football where you have to pick up the ball and run with it, but the rules are significantly different.
okay.
But for soccer, obviously, there's no use of the
No.
hands
Well,
except for the
throw-ins.
for the throwing and for the goalkeeper.
Yes. Yes.
You're penalized if you use your hands. You chase the ball up and down, and you get 1 point.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Versus for American football, you try to get to the other end of the field, and you get 6 points and 1 extra point if you're able to kick it
Yeah.
over the goal. So very, very, very different. Tell us what some of the positions are on on the teams, and what positions you like.
So there are 11 players on the field. There are center back, left back, right back, midfield, strike, wingers. And these are they vary in different categories basically. So a striker would be an attacking player, a midfielder would be a player that controls the game,
Mhm.
and a defender would be the team that defends.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like to play center back, left back, and defensive midfield. For me, the the position that I would really want to start playing more is defensive midfield, because in center back and left back it's more defensive roles,
Mhm.
and in Grenada we don't really push defenders forward, as in like plays, as including them So it doesn't help as in leaving us excluded as
Mm.
defenders. So for there's defensive midfield. So he basically, or he or she
Mm.
basically stands on top of the midfield.
Mm.
Yeah.
So are you saying essentially that position does not get as much exposure or prominence as the other positions?
I would say the more defending, like center back, left back, right back, those
Mm.
positions are more defensive. The
Mm.
defensive midfield kind of allows the person to, in a
Okay.
sense,
Okay.
yeah, as in to be able to go up and
Mm.
attack with players and to have to come back and defend also.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So it sounds like you want to be able to roam across the field as
yes,
much as possible.
yes.
Okay.
That's what I like.
Uh, it sounds like a hustler.
A very tiring role.
So, Andre, it's obvious that you know quite a bit about soccer. It almost feels as if you've been playing this game for all of your 16 years. And just wanted to let the audience know that Andre is 16 and just turned 17 today on the 24th of July. So feel free to get in the comments and leave happy birthday, belated happy birthday greetings for Andre. I'm sure he would love the encouragement. But Andre, this is your 16 years and 1 day of playing soccer. How long have you been playing football?
Um, I did not know how long, but apparently I've been playing soccer since I was three. My parents told me, and it was very surprising. I believe that I also had this hunger and this passion for football, and I, none of my parents ever played athletics like that, or did any athletics like professionally or took it to another level. So the first in my family.
Okay.
Yes,
So I hear a couple of things. I hear the pioneer spirit, wanting to be the first in your family to do this, to not just play nationally, but to play internationally.
yes, I would
And
like.
the second piece I also hear is that it kind of almost sits quietly behind like a little monster behind the door and is scratching the door. I hear the wanting to play internationally, wanting to make it on that international stage.
I would love to play professional football.
What would that look like?
Um, for me, since I was young, I've been like traveling to the US mostly,
Mm.
but just like watching football on TV, seeing these players traveling to different traveling
Mm.
to different countries, and it seems so interesting. And then seeing people come to the stadium, hundreds and thousands of persons come to the
Mm.
stadium just to watch these couple of players knock the ball around and feel so appreciated. So I would just like to get that experience and also play the best football as much as I can.
So I know it was a little bit of a word slip, players traveling the world versus traveling to other countries.
Yes,
But I think to myself that traveling to other countries is almost like traveling to a whole different world.
with the cultures and yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about how that traveling to these different cultures, what would that mean to you?
It would mean the world to me. Just being able to experience different places, being able to see different sides. Me personally, I'm very into nature and buildings and just my surroundings. So just being able to see other countries or other worlds, basically, it would be very fantastic. It would be a mind opening.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I can't remember who said it. I'm not sure if it was Mark Twain, but there's this old saying that a mind wants. No, that's not what it says. Something about travel expands the mind, and that once the mind has been expanded, it never regains its original dimensions. And so I hope for yourself that you have the opportunity to be able to not just as you've done with the soccer academy in Ohio, at Wisconsin, and other places that you visited that you get the opportunities to connect not just on the sports level, the academic level. You talked about cultures, other cultures that might be able to um, assist with your growth as you move towards this international space, these international dreams that you have. So, Andre, you said that it blows my mind that you're playing soccer at 3 because I can't imagine a 3-year-old in little shorts and soccer shirt running around kicking a ball at 3 years old. When did you first get that own personal interest in soccer?
I would say my own personal interest in soccer came around 13, 14. So I had joined a club a few years back, and the coach presented an opportunity, a national opportunity to me to join the U14 squad, I believe. And me going to to those trials and just experiencing football and just having in mind a goal to work towards to travel to I believe it was Dominica Republic, and just not being able to just getting dropped from the team, it was devastating for me. And then just overcoming that, I believe it gave me this passion and this drive to be able to go for the other one. And then the following year, I got through the U15 team. So at 14, 15, I had this personal drive to I want this thing and I want to be a professional player.
So that dream that you have of being able to experience other cultures, other lands, other people, other philosophies and ways of being, you got a chance at that at 14.
At 15,
At 50, so you tried out for the team originally, and you didn't make the final cut, and then you tried out for the other team,
yeah,
for the national team,
yeah.
and you were able to travel to Dominican Republic.
Um, the team that I didn't get through was the Dominica Republic flight,
Okay.
but the U15 squad that I did get through was Curacao.
Curacao. Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
Maybe Curacao is nicer than Dominican Republic.
The resorts,
Seriously,
the resorts was lovely. It was really nice. It was really, really
nice,
nice.
nice, nice, nice,
Yeah.
nice. Yeah. So hopefully, well, not hopefully. If this is where you're going, this is the vision that you have for yourself. You can only expect that there'll be more of this. In fact, this might become so common that you won't even be thinking, oh, where am I going today? Oh, I'll be in Argentina.
I really
Oh,
hope so. I really, really hope so.
we're in Greece next week, and we're in Paraguay the week after. You won't even be thinking about it. So hopefully that's what happens. So now I will turn over the mic to Andre because Andre has a couple of questions that he wants to ask me.
So Dr. Alvin Thomas, I heard that you went from clinical psychology to a more research, and then you went into Black Fathers and created this podcast. And then behind us, I can see that in 2024 you are official nominee of one of the awards, the Wemby Award, I believe. And then the following year you had award, a golden award, I believe.
So I think the Golden Award is actually from the Signal Award. And I think might have been 2023.
Oh,
The Webbies, we got two. So in 2024 for the Webbies, we got a nomination for some work that we have done, and the following year, this year, we got two Webbies. So we got the Webby for the podcast episode, and we got an additional one, which we were a little bit surprised to get, which was I think it's called Listener's
I
Voice.
think they're right over there.
I think it's listener's voice. So essentially, it's persons who have listened to the podcast. The audience gets to weigh in on who they think among the nominees deserves not just to win, but also deserves to be the one who represents the voice of the people. So I started just like you in the Caribbean in St. Lucia, very small island, much like yours. I think yours is 150,
10,
110,000 people.
110,000, I think.
and St. Lucia is 180,000.
Okay.
So very similar. I started with, just like you, um, discovering a thing that I was really excited about, really passionate about. I knew I wanted to teach. I knew I wanted to understand how people functioned. And I also knew I wanted to do something, engage work that was going to have an impact on people's lives. Um, and I wanted a job that was not going to be boring, like just sitting down in one place doing the same thing every day. God, like, oh God, I don't want to do that. And so I kind of fell into psychology and eventually narrowed it down to clinical psychology, so mental health issues. And over the years, as I was studying for the PhD and then eventually the postdoc degree, I decided that I wanted to focus on fathers and on Black children, Black families. Um, and I think sometime during the recent pandemic, I was working with a community partner on conversations around risk during the pandemic, especially for Black families and for Black fathers who were part of what were called essential workers. So these are people who, even if they would like to stay home and be safe from COVID, they had to go to work. So nurses, doctors, policemen, those kinds of social services, the persons who, supermarket attendants, who had to be there to help us get our food, they had to put themselves at risk. The mail delivery persons, they were putting themselves at risk. The persons who pick up our garbage and keep our communities clean, they had to put themselves at risk. And a lot of those people were Black men. And so I wanted to provide some support for these individuals. And out of those weekly discussions that we had with Black fathers, I decided maybe there was space for a podcast specifically about the challenges that Black fathers face, but also about something that we don't hear very often, which is the hard work that Black fathers are doing. You have a Black father,
Yes, I do.
and you know the kind of hard work and sacrifice that he puts in.
Yeah.
Thinking also not just of the biological fathers, but also the social fathers. You have uncles, you have grandfathers, you have uncles in law, brothers in law. Well, not a brother in law, you have
No,
a
no,
brother.
not yet, not yet. No, 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 not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet.
Uncles in law
Yes,
who are like fathers to you, who
yes.
are able to support you. And so being able to identify the really difficult work, the really meaningful work that those Black men are doing with regard to building our community, supporting our children. And so that's kind of where that work came from. And I've had a really good opportunities to present my work internationally, to write for organizations that are able to make changes in people's lives, to of course get lots of awards for the podcast, and to see people really gravitate towards the work, really enjoy the work, and of course to eventually meet lots of really wonderful guests like yourself
Thank
to
you.
kind of see what people are doing, the stories of their lives. So thank you very much for asking that question. That was a very long answer.
Um, you're welcome. I hear you more talk about the podcast than the work that you have been doing as a professor, I believe, at the University of Wisconsin. So, is it possible for you to talk more about if there has been any um books or chapters that you have written in the area of psychology?
Yes, so there have been a number. So as a faculty member, we were expected to write, to conduct studies, and to write scientific articles, and of course share those scientific articles with other scientists. The work has to go out. The work goes out through its traditional academic channels, through journal articles. Sometimes I write op-eds, so or opinion pieces that get placed in either magazines or other online publications like the Salon, the Conversation, and others, Huffington Post. Um, these are spaces where I get to share the research. But often, where the research gets shared is at the academic conferences. So, Society for Research on Adolescence, Society for Research on Child Development, APA, and other areas. So, as you rightly mentioned, there are a number of papers that come up. Some of them are under review. It takes a few months before we get word on if they're accepted. We have one that was just accepted that explores social media use among Black and Latino or Hispanic youth, and how parents are able to protect children while they're online. And we have a couple about fatherhood. We have a couple of book chapters.
Okay.
So we do have a book chapter that looks at fatherhood, just the long history of fatherhood, looks at all of the research on that, and hopefully that gets published sometime next year. We have a book chapter on depression among Black Americans, and hope that it's accepted, and we expect it to be published sometime later this year. So both of those we think of as what are called seminal articles. A seminal article is one that um, is meant to make a big contribution to the field. So 10, 20, 30 years after I might even retire, people might still be talking about it because it helped them understand that particular issue. So, for example, fatherhood. It might help them understand a thing about fatherhood, and people use that as a way of extending their own research. So, as far as the research goes, we are doing a lot of work on fatherhood, on social media use, and it's continued research and writing and publishing, and of course the podcasting is part of the publishing as well. It's just not written.
I see that psychology more focuses on future references, a little more than past.
Yes and no. Yes, because it's always about trying to drive the field forward.
Okay.
So it's what questions have we not answered?
Mm.
But to know or to guess the kinds of questions that we've not answered, we need to know what questions were answered before.
Oh,
So
okay.
we think of people like Sigmund Freud. What did Sigmund Freud tell us in the early 1900s, 1 century ago? And what does that mean for how we understand psychology and understand people today? So I could pull up a psychologist from the 1950s. The 1950s look nothing like 2025. A child in the 1950s looks nothing like you, right? You have a computer, you have a phone, you can find any one of your friends like that. A child in the 1950s would have to walk down the street, go all around the corner, and eventually find their friend at their home or on the playground or something. And they would, like a child in the 1950s would have to be home before it got dark because it was dangerous. Today, you have touchlights, lots of lights everywhere. Parents drop kids off for play dates. Parents know each other. That was not always the case. So because we know that there's a lot of change that happens, we're constantly trying to see how those changes in society, how we're thinking about things, how it changes the natural things. The natural development is that a child will go from being a baby to a child to an adolescent to a young person to an adult and eventually to an older person and die. That's just natural.
Yeah.
But that's going to look different in every culture at every time period. That goes to look very. Talk to your parents about what it looked like to grow up when they were 14 years old, and you will see how different
It
your
is to
14
know.
years old was.
Okay, okay,
So
okay.
psychology is trying to is always trying to push us forward to understand that.
Okay. I guess I'll be handing the mic back over to you.
Back over to me. Okay,
Yes.
so my question for you then, Andre, I love that at this age you've already found a thing that you're passionate about. I think when I was your age, what, 16? I was teaching at 16. I was teaching elementary school at 16. So at your age, I knew I was going to teach. I did not know that I was necessarily going to be a clinical psychologist, but you've already identified that that is the thing that you want to do. Of course, you know that to get into any really good university that has a really good soccer program, you eventually going to have to figure out what is the other thing that I'm interested in, the academic thing, or the career thing beyond the sport. Um, but I guess my question is, um, what do you hope to do with this soccer? Is it just about I want to play soccer, or is there a bigger goal, or bigger? Not that there has to be. Soccer could be soccer. Playing international soccer could be the goal, but I'm asking just to see if there is. Is there something beyond that, or is this just about I want to play soccer at the international level?
I would say that since I was young, that soccer has been something I'm very passionate about. So
Mhm.
I see my soccer, hopefully my soccer career as a quote unquote way out
Mm,
of the small Caribbean, of the small island that I live in,
mhm,
to maybe one of these bigger countries, so that I could maybe, well, hopefully further my abilities and my
mhm,
skills in football or soccer, sorry,
mhm,
and also I like IT, more
mhm,
cyber security, computer
mhm,
science, building games, um, business.
mhm.
I love money.
Who
So,
does?
I,
Who,
I mean, I mean,
I
I mean, I mean, okay, so
hello, talk to me.
money talks.
Yeah,
So, um, I would love to dig deeper into business.
right.
So those two departments, yes, I would love
Mm,
to dip myself,
mm,
or put my foot in those two departments just to see how they are like, as a academic side.
mm,
But football or soccer, sorry,
mm,
um just being able to come from a small island and then going to a big stage,
mm,
I would like to do it not just for myself, but
mm,
like for my support system,
mm,
the people that drive me every day, the people that drop me to school, my parents,
mm,
my mom, my aunt, my uncle. I'm very loved, and I'm
mm,
very appreciative of that. So every day I wake up and I just try to be better, and I just try to get more hungry for this
mm,
sport so that I could make it to the big stage, and I could show that that it is possible and
mm,
anybody could do this.
mm,
So that drives me.
mm,
Those two things, my support system, and just being able to come out from the small island and prove that you could do this.
mm,
That
mm,
there's opportunities out there for you, so that
mm,
we don't have to stay in this small island. That we could come out and we
mm,
could show up in these big countries, and then we could go back home and we could invest in our island and we
mm.
could grow as a people.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So I like that last part because I was going to explain, at least from what I know about you, that you weren't saying that you didn't like Grenada and you were trying
no,
to run away from Grenada. You were talking about instead the limitations of smaller islands with
yeah,
regard to opportunities,
yeah,
and being able to get out there and connect to those opportunities, and like you just said, to be able to take that and bring it back to your island, take those skills, those experiences that you've learned, those contacts that you've made, and being able to set the stage that you wish you had now, being able to set that stage for the next generation, or the stage that you are on now,
yeah,
to further build it out so that the next crop of Grenadian footballers, the next crop of Grenadian whatever, are able to find their purpose, are able to find their dream and live that out. Yeah. So one thing that you said was that you're interested in IT and business entrepreneurship, and you're thinking of ways. You're still at the very early ages. I don't think anybody expects you to know all of the intricacies of what you want to do at this point, but you're already pinpointing some kind of an intersection between IT, business, and soccer. and what that could look like. And I don't know if you have any idea what it might look like, and you don't need to. Um, but I just thought that was exciting.
For for me, at first, I was thinking about um developing games. So previously, well, I think last year we traveled
Mhm,
to Texas, and my
mhm,
dad had this employee down in Grenada
mhm,
that came up, and he's doing well, and he's doing some sort of computer science
mhm,
in a big company. So I just seen him like have time at home, like
mhm,
not having to go to work, go to the office every single day. I kind of see myself doing that, as
mhm,
in having some off time. So
mhm,
as in going to training in the morning,
mhm,
and then coming back home, eating, doing whatever I have to do, and then sitting down and
mhm,
finishing some work. I wouldn't say being lazy, but just
mhm,
not having football there. So
mhm,
if in a s- so say I have an injury
mhm,
and 3 months I'm out, I
mhm.
can't do nothing. I have rehab, but I cannot go and play any
Right.
football. I cannot perform for my club. So instead of sitting down and watching TV and just you know quote
Mhm.
unquote couch potato, just being able to do something with
Something
myself,
else.
as in to find another revenue. So to find, so it's not only club money for a
Right.
sense. It would be that I'm getting paid by something else that I
Mhm.
love. I'm going after something else. Yeah.
So I think a lot of professional athletes these days are dipping their toes in areas that are beyond the professional athlete space. So some of them are models, some of them are running smaller companies, some of them are venture capitals. I think you mentioned that. Some of them are investing in other areas, so using their funds and investing. So they're creating space for generational wealth. So they're making the money today from the efforts that they're engaged in, and hoping and planning for that money to have some longevity, being able to provide for themselves 20, 30, 40 years, or maybe 10 years after they've retired from that particular sport. And eventually, if they make it to that point, being able to use the power of their name. Like I think of Mbappe. Like Mbappe could literally step on the stage and say something about children or about fathers, and millions of people would stop and listen and would change how they think. And so I think of that level of influence. What would Andre Stanislas do with that level of influence? And you can stop to think.
As I said previously, just being able to go back home and just being able to influence people
Mm,
that are coming back, that are coming up. Sorry.
mm,
Um. So I would say mainly that influence, if I
mm,
get that influence, would be used to influence people back home, because right now, the biggest sports, maybe soccer slash
mm,
football, is coming up,
mm,
but usually it stops there.
mm.
Usually you reach senior team, you reach a club senior team, and then that's it.
There's nothing else.
Yeah, if you don't get a scholarship or anything, that's it. So your
Mm,
football stops there, and you just can't chase your dream anymore. So for me, it hurts
mm.
seeing people that are so good just stay in the Caribbean, in Grenada, and not being able to express themselves on this world stage.
So, without telling us, without using anybody's names, have you ever witnessed or kind of experienced the death of somebody's dream, soccer dream, because of the challenges of growing up in Grenada? Like somebody who you could tell this person is like phenomenal at football, but either they don't have somebody to push them or they don't get the opportunities, and before long they pull back on soccer and they have to kind of go into like, I need to make money to live. and that's the end of soccer for them, even though they have the natural talent. Have you ever seen that happen without using any names, of course?
I wouldn't like to say gladly, but
Right.
in a sense, gladly, I'm very glad that I have not seen that
Mm.
because to me it would have been heartbreaking. So,
Mm.
in a sense, I'm very glad, but uh, no, I don't think I have. I
Okay.
really don't think I have.
Have you ever heard of any of this? Because I know that that is an expectation that not everybody who goes into a sport is going to make it
Yeah.
to the national stage or even to the international stage. But then you have the limitations, whether it be the quality of the equipment or the quality of the coaching or the availability of the coaching or the availability of opportunities. And that if you don't get a chance to connect to those things, you don't have a support system, like you're saying, that could be the end, the premature end of your dream.
Um, I would say coaches,
Mm,
just seeing how them talking about like
mm,
quote unquote back in the day when they
mm,
used to be playing and stuff like that, how passionate and how lively they seem talking about it, and then just hearing them talk about how they only made the national team,
mm.
and then just hearing that passion, and it sounds like they could have done more if
Right.
they had some of the opportunities that we have now. It sounds like they would have been out there, maybe still playing.
Right.
Yeah, so just hearing coaches' stories and stuff like that, it seems it feels heartbreaking at sometimes.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So great, Andre. We're coming to the end of the episode, and I want to ask you four quick answer questions. So you don't have to explain your answer. Just tell me what response comes to you. And I asked this question of your prime minister. Uh, so if your prime minister is listening, Prime Minister Mitchell, let's see if Andre agrees with you. Rank these in order of your of preference for you: jerk chicken, curried chicken or roti, or oil down. One, two, three.
I would say oil down, choke chicken, and what else?
Roti.
Okay, I would say the oil down, roti, then choke chicken.
Okay, Prime Minister Mitchell, you have a Grenadian here that you can talk to. I think he gave the same response. We can go back to his episode to see what his response was. Second question: favorite football team?
Man United, without no doubt.
No doubt, he says.
No
Man
doubt.
United, no doubt. I'm not going to ask you any more questions because I don't want anybody in the chat throwing any words back and forth. Man United, no doubt, he
No
says.
doubt, no doubt.
Um, which team do you see yourself playing for? If you had to choose right now the team that you would play for, except apart from Man United,
Okay, okay. Um, I would like to believe that I could play for.
just the dream team. That you know what? Let me put Man United back on the table. Any team, including Man United,
I would say Chelsea. Chelsea.
Chelsea.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Um, where do you see yourself 5 years from now?
Either in university or playing, hopefully in the MLS.
MLS, that's the Major League Soccer.
Soccer. Yeah, that's
Okay,
it. Yeah.
okay. And before we end, what is one? I know we didn't talk about your dad, but you mentioned him a number of times. What is one thing that you want all black fathers out there to know? What's one thing that they should know?
that they work very hard.
Mm.
They work very, very, very hard. Well, from experiencing my father personally, that yes, they tend to work very hard on protecting us.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much again, Andre. Today we had the awesome opportunity to listen to the budding dreams of what we expect will be an international soccer player. So we're just putting out all of the support for you and asking all of viewers, listeners, to leave a like, a comment, some encouragement for Andre as he pursues his passion, pursues his dream, not just from the selfish perspective of trying to get this place that he wants to get to, but being able to provide similar support to other persons like himself once he's gotten to that dream. Thank you so much again, Andre, for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
You've been listening to the Black Father's Pulse. I'm your host, Dr. Alvin Thomas. I'm a clinical psychologist, researcher, and director of the TriLab at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Views shared on this podcast are mine or that of my guest and are not associated with the university. Original music for our series was composed and performed by Micaiah De Silva, artwork by Isabella Acra. The podcast is produced by me and is supported by the kind contributions of you, the public, and advertisers. Follow me on Twitter at Dr_AT758, that's Dr_AT758, or the Black Fathers Pulse podcast on Instagram and YouTube. Subscribe to the Black Fathers Pulse podcast wherever you do your podcast listening, and don't forget to share and leave us a positive review.